my lovelies. Danyelle here. I am an energetic healer, access consciousness bars facilitator, intuitive and transformational coach. I'm actually jumping online because today I'd like to talk to you about doshas. The reason basically I want to share some of the information that I've gathered along my little journey with them, and I am no expert, far from being an expert in that area. But I have found that there has been a large amount of resonance for the doshas and the diet and the system that is involved and used there. So doshas is an Ayurvedic system. So it's originated in India. I believe it's one of the most ancient healing and health systems that is practiced kind of on the planet. And the basic idea of it is that we at conception, which is crazy, right? At conception, we decide our constitution, so that's our body's makeup and our personality, through our parents, the parents that we have and what their doshas were, our location of where we were born, so the kind of heat and energy and geographics of it, and also what our soul wants to incarnate as. So that will help us with, I suppose, more balance and lessons and things along our journey, which is rather interesting when you start to learn your doshas a little bit. You start to get more intuitive and understand your own personality and the things that you may need to have as like a more learned trait. So basically the idea is that it's a system that is I wrote a few notes. It's a system that prevents the treatment of illness through lifestyle and through different lifestyle practices and diet. So that's through meditation, massage, yoga, and then healthy eating. And the reason is that they use this process is that each dosha can be either aggravated or it can be calmed. So if the dosha is aggravated, and that's like so dosha kind of is your personality. It's what your constitution is. It's what your makeup is. When it gets into an aggravated state, what happens is it can start to cause internal issues, your mind, and your mental capability, the way you conduct yourself. It can all come into play when we look at this system. My cat's coming to say hey. So the idea is to naturally balance it out. So you are actually preventing illness, and then if illness comes up, you can actually treat it with calming the constitution and not aggravating it. So it helps us to learn balance and maintain homeostasis. So Zen. There's three doshas, okay? So I got a little bit cranky with my dosha because I kind of went into this judgment of what my dosha was, which is probably why I wasn't ready to receive the information, which is rather stupid, but let's pock and pot all of that judgments. So certain doshas are prone to certain illnesses, and you can also like really hone in and use your personality traits to your advantage as well if you start to understand where your strengths and your weaknesses are. We can be a mixture of two doshas usually, and sometimes three, but mostly two. So I am a Kapha Vata, and I'm going to tell you about these different doshas and why it's important to sort of have that for optimal health and mental strength, really. So the first type is Vata. The Vata is the sky and air element. So it's light, rough, and has good mobility. These kind of people are actually really thin, lean, wiry. They're very active, and their constitution is kind of like up and down. They're very like busy, they get fidgety, they can tolerate the heat, but they hate the cold. So they're quite motivated. Mentally, they're easily agitated by things being out of place, or people can be annoying. They have trouble making decisions. And they're kind of like in this up and down energy. So when they have things that are agitating of it, so if they aren't getting enough of the right foods or activity level, so short periods basically of exercise helps to keep them level, focusing on one thing at a time, trying to balance that out actually helps that person to be more productive and more balanced, because they are so up in the air. You need to like kind of earth yourself down so that you're a bit more productive and more level. So heavier foods, like rices and pastas and things that are like quite carby, and I guess can bring that earthier element down. The next is Pitta. So Pitta is a fire element. So they are basically, their constitution is hot, sharp, oily, and fluid. So they're actually aggravated and angry easily. They are very fiery, short-tempered people, but they are very cheerful and get along in crowds, and they're very bubbly personalities, and they're quite outgoing. So these people tend to be like have trouble gaining weight because their digestive system is super fast and super quick. So they have to eat regularly, and their digestive, like they can digest almost anything. They can eat anything they like because their digestion is so fast. But their main problem is that they hate the heat because they're already such a hot, fiery person that they can get really aggravated when they get overly hot. So if they're in hot temperatures, and also they can get annoyed by hot situations. So they don't like a lot of confrontation, and uncomfortable situations, or even spicy foods can aggravate the digestive system. And they get very hangry. So eating regularly, I have a friend and I get super jealous of her because she's a Pitta and she gets to eat all the time. And I'm like, man, if I ate as much food as you, I would be like the size of a house. Like I would just be huge. So no hot foods, and their decision making is actually really, really fast, and they are precise, very strong emotionally people. Although they get aggravated fast, they're actually not so emotionally triggered and like upset they don't go deep into emotion, I guess that's the word you'd say. They have this stillness within, and they're good at self-expression, so they can be quite creative types. And then we have the Kapha, which is the water and the earth, which is a heavy, smooth, oily, and cold constitution. So that's what the body is made up. Oily joints, so they got good joint movement, very sturdy, big bones, can gain muscle really easily. So yay for me. I always wondered, like, why do I gain muscle so good and it doesn't disappear? Apparently it's a part of my constitution. I'm just lucky that way. You're nice and complacent people, very calm and composed and earthy and grounded. So the comparison is a lot like elephants. I'm not sure that I like that, but I'll go with it. Slow-paced, sleeps very deeply. Oh, that's another thing about Vatas. Vatas do not sleep well at all, and they have poor eating habits. But The Kapha is very firm. Once they've set a judgment about themselves or others, once it's there, it might take a while to come to that judgment, or it might take a while to get that knowledge or that decision. But once they have it, they're very strong and firm in their foundation, and you can't move them. They're very much like, right, well, I've gathered the information, or I believe that, and that's kind of it. They're set in their ways. They've got very slow digestion. Which means they need more fiery foods, and because they've got an oily a liver, their liver, and they've got a lot of oily bile ducts and stuff going on. I think that's your gallbladder. It's better to have foods and things that are drier to sort of balance that out and calm it. So there are a lot of quizzes online about the doshas and the personality types and eating to your dosha, and I've been trying to do that myself, and I can tell you that energetically wise, I've got more energy. I'm understanding a lot of things so that I can balance it out. Although I was already very balanced from other things, doing my mind and soul stuff, I have neglected my body a little. So I find that this has been a really great aspect to take parts of that resonate for me and incorporate it into my life. The Kapha also loves the heat. They're very intelligent, and they've got a strong knowledge. They manage stress well because they're so calm and level. So they're great leaders and managers and people that have to have a lot of things come at them, and they make strong, sturdy decisions. And very creative types because they like to be involved in the process. So I think the most I've benefited so much from starting to understand a bit about the doshas. One, because it helps you with relationships, and how if you want to have some form of a romantic relationship, it's not advised that you go for your same dosha, because what happens is you start to have too much of the same energy and there's no balance. So it causes friction and contrast. So having balance and going for a dosha that's your opposite so that you complement each other and you can have those energies integrate and move forward in this yin and yang kind of energy, I suppose you'd say. But also so that you can start to balance your own constitution. So you're not doing things that are aggravated just because it's a belief system that that's the right food, or that's a healthy food, or that's a healthy exercise. There are certain exercises for certain doshas and personalities that will work really well for your body, and some that will not. So my own belief in general is to always don't limit and come to a conclusion that that's the only way. Do your research, learn about different practices, gain knowledge, and pick what resonates for you here in your heart. Take what resonates, take what feels light. Always go with your own inner knowledge with these things and pick and choose what works for you. But we can't really trust this space if we don't have the knowledge and the intellectual understanding to incorporate and act on that. So have a little think about whether doshas is something that may resonate for you. There are online quizzes so that you can find out your dosha, and you may be able to incorporate a bit of the eating, exercise, and understanding of mental capability, and then matching yourself to a nice opposite dosha that might help calm you and help you to grow forward. I hope you enjoyed today's little chat. Any comments, I'd love to know them. A 1 if you watch now, and a 2 if you watch the replay. Make sure you pop down where you're watching from. Share this with somebody if you think that they may resonate or find interest in this kind of ancient Indian technique of eating. I guess that's why it's incorporated with a lot of yogis. And have a beautiful Friday. Mwah.